Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. You know that you are not welcome in a house or in a country if you're not invited over there and if you don't cooperate unless you're threatened to cooperate. If you invite someone in your house without that person threatening you or blackmailing you, that means you want that person to come in your house. For whatever reason, you have an interest, maybe you like the person, maybe that person is your friend. You definitely will not invite a enemy unless you want to, right? Or you do it because you have to. Like, let's say you invite a bad boss. You just want to bribe him with a dinner or something. Look at the United States, how United States is invited to other countries on this planet other than the vassal states that are kept together, and they're kept together by the United States. They don't stay because they start to realize, these vassal states that are on the US plantation, they start to realize that they're missing out the rest of the world. They got on this little bus that is not going but to the desert. And they see the rest of the guys going somewhere where kind of like smells fresh water and beautiful environment. And these guys are like, geez, why am I in this bus? Hungary is like, I'm going this way. Poland is like, and countries are like leaving the bus that's going towards the desert. That's how I see it. Let me show you this little example. Remember Libya? Can you tell me who destroyed Libya? Was it the Russians? Was it the Libyan people? Was it Gaddafi? Was it the Americans? Was it NATO? You don't have only one actor, okay? It's not. It can be all of the above as well. But you know who implemented what and facilitated the killing of Gaddafi. Bad as he was, that was their problem, not this guy's problem. Okay? So now what happens? The Libyan, how should I put it? In control, the people in control of Libya right now, they are inviting the Russians, the Russian military, to Libya. It's like everywhere where Iraq is held in the talons of the United States, or the claws, all right? That's how Iraq is. If Iraq would be allowed to be alone, which makes already connections with what? Turkey, with Iran, with Saudi Arabia. I'm waiting for Iraq to say, well, we want to open some, channels of communication, maybe some military training with the Russians. What will happen when the Iraq will say that with the Iraqis? What will happen? Will these guys allow them or not? Let me show you this little article here. This article comes from Sputnik. And the Russian military delegation arrives in Libya at Haftar's invitation. So, a Russian delegation headed by Deputy Defense Minister Colonel General Yunus Ben Yavkurov on Tuesday arrived in Libya at the invitation of Libyan National Army, LNA, Commander Khalifa Haftar, the Defense Ministry said. And here is the little video. So, the Russians are getting there. The Americans are not there. After they... Alright, so they are over there. They are over there, invited. They didn't send weapons, they didn't send bombers, they didn't instituted any no-flight zone. They didn't do anything like that. They didn't facilitate, hey, there's where Gaddafi is going, get him. They didn't do that. But those guys who did that are not invited there. Why? The same thing in Africa. Is that a coincidence that a lot of African countries, I don't have the number, they are inclined to jump on Russia's board instead of being with their all-time friends, Great Britain, France, and others? Is that what's going on? It seems like these guys are kicked out and China and Russia are invited in. Remember, Russia just had a Russia-African summit in St. Petersburg about 3 weeks ago or so. 49 countries participated, 49 African countries participated, from I think 55, which some are recognized, some of them are not recognized. So take it, what, 51, 52, 49 showed up with presidents, prime ministers, delegations. They were represented over there. What do you make out of this? Yeah, the Americans held another African thing in, but there was not the same volume, the same number of countries. They showed up not because Russia will threaten them, not because Russia has the money to give them over there or anything. They might have grain and other things, but it's 2% that goes from these guys over there. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is this. It seems to me that when countries allowed to make a choice, they pick Russia. When the countries are not allowed to make a choice because they're threats, they pick. Let's read further this article here. On August 22nd, 2023, at the invitation of the commander of the Libyan National Army, Marshal Khalifa Haftar, a delegation of the Russian Defense Ministry, headed by the Deputy Defense Minister of Russian Colonel Papapap, arrived in Libya, end quote. The ministry stated, mentioning that this is the first official visit, quote unquote, the first of a Russian military delegation to the North African country. So they didn't have their tail in there, unlike others. And I'm quoting, this is the first official visit of the Russian military delegation to Libya, end quote. The ministry noted, during the visit, I'm quoting, it is planned to discuss prospects for cooperation in the fight against international terrorism, okay, as well as other issues of joint actions. Joint, that means together. So how do you think the Americans and the NATO helpers of Libya, because they were the most concerned about Libya, weren't they? Weren't they concerned? They just dropped it. I think still over there is there are markets selling people. Isn't that in Libya now? Is that what it got from Gaddafi? And anyway, I don't know if you're familiar with that water project that Gaddafi, that guy, created in Libya. They gave them water. Just I can't remember the name of the project, but it was I watched 2 or 3 documentaries on that, and I read about it when I was much younger, when we didn't have internet. It was I don't know, eighth wonder of the world or something. Unfreaking believable how they tapped the water from the desert, brought it to the Libyan people. That guy, yeah, that guy. And look now. Look, you can watch videos now and see what's going on in Libya. That's a disaster. And who and why? That's why the Russians said, we're not going to allow Syria to have the fate of Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, where, as they said, whatever these guys touch turns into disaster. And then they reconstruct it for a while, and then they leave. And can you see the skyscrapers in Baghdad that the Americans built? And those suspended freeways that they built, the autobahns designed by Albert Speer, under Adolf's orders, and we copy them, right? Eisenhower, 1950s, the highway project. How was that called? The Interstate Highway Project or something like that. When he was Eisenhower in Europe, in Germany, and he drove on those autobahns built by the, he said, oh my God, these guys did a marvelous thing here. Let's copy it. So anyway, and they did. Good job. So here is, my friends. Americans are not there. The Russians are invited there. The Russians were not there. These guys helped them themselves. Good job, huh? Oh my. And how do you think these guys are looking at that? Obviously, it's not bribery here. I don't think the Russians have more money than these guys, do they? They don't have the International Monetary Fund. They don't have the bank, the World Bank. These guys have it. So they call it international blah, 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 blah. In charge is someone else, some other people. All right, my friends, this is it. Russians in. Those guys were not in anyway, but they helped disintegrate the society. As bad as it was, right now is worse. I know, anyway, That's it. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.